Another video in our series of videos focused on developing a color picker app. Our color picker app is a very simple app that combines colors and then displays them on some kind of palette on an iOS screen. Now the app has a couple of switches and sliders, and those two controls are what actually controls what specific colors are they posted on the screen. So for now the app is working well, it's functional. We've been able to complete the app, and that was all that was done in the previous videos. What each component does right now is something that's really unclear, and I'm talking about the controls, the switches and the sliders. So part of what we're going to be doing in this video is to polish the user interface, right, so that things are a little clearer for the users of the app. But before we proceed, I want to mention that a lot of the content you see that was used to make this video is based on available material from the Develop in Swift Explorations book that's provided by Apple. It's part of their iOS app development initiative, and the book is available for free on the Apple stores. So I'm gonna go on to Xcode right now and call up the app and show us exactly what the app does and some of the issues that we would want to sort out in this particular video. So let me call up the screen. So this is what we have at the moment. Let me run it, and so you can see what we have going on. So we have this beautiful screen. As you can see, these are the switches, 1 2 3 switches, and each of the switches are connected to sliders. So, and you have a reset button here. If I reset this, this is fully opened, and these are deactivated. So if I decided to each of them, so the first button is red, the second is green, and the third is blue. But I can literally begin to combine the colors of each of them. I can mix this up, turn this up a little bit, and that's literally what we have. But there are a couple of problems, and those are the issues we would want to address. Even though everything seems to check out, there are a couple of problems, and I think about three of the problems that would want to deal with. First of all, as you can see, there's nothing that really distinguishes each of these sliders from each other. They all look alike. This is all green here, all blue here. So what we want to do is to customize each of the switches and slides in the interface builder so that they are a reflection of the exact color that each of them represents, so that an unsuspecting user can simply just look at these switches and know exactly what it is they do. And the second thing I want to point out is when everything is on and then you increase the color configuration of all three, you will notice that the color view screen disappears, and it's a specific point where all three colors were combined. And then if you go this way, you can also see it. So essentially what's happening here is there is no border. So one of the things we want to do is to add a border around this area and then some rounded corners, so that we can have a screen that's kind of permanent irrespective of how you turn around the colors. And then the third thing we want to do is watch this. So I've disabled this particular switch, and then the slider that is attached to it is still moving, and notice it's moving, but there's no action, nothing is happening here. So what we want to do is to make sure align this switch to the slider, so that once this is locked, this is also locked, because there's no point in having it move but with no functionality. So those are the three things we want to do, and I'm going to start them one by one. We're going to start first of all with customizing the look of the switches and the sliders in the interface builder. So let me minimize this, and let's close this. Let me close this screen. So to do this, we are gonna, let me just close this, and I'm gonna walk us through the process. So we're gonna customize each of this. So let's say I click here. Now once I click here, you want to go to this point, see my arrow, the inspector area, click that and it opens, and then you want to click the attributes inspector. So click this, click that, and then click these stacked arrows, and then that's when this opens. And when it opens, there are two things I like us to pay attention to, and that is the on tint and thumb tint. These two are actually custom colors that can be applied to our switch. So what's the thumb tint? Thumb tint actually, literally, you can see the round like knobs that you can move back and forth here. That's what your thumb tint, that's what you use for setting the color. So let's assume I'm trying to change the color, say to pink, right? See what's happening here? That's pink. But that's our focus today isn't going to be on the thumb tint. We're going to be focusing on the on tint, and on tint is literally the area, when I move this, the area under it, right, that shows it's on, because this is disabled right now. When you enable it, the color of the background, right, once this thumb is moved, the color is what you call the on tint. So those are two different color configurations for modifying the colors of each of this switch. So we're going to go for the on tint, and then because that knob represents red, we're going to say system red color. So it's not visible at the moment because this is still off. So when we're done with that, we can move to the next, and then next switch, and then the next switch represents the green. So we can still use on tint, and then we go look for green, system green color, and that's it. We're done there. And then you move to the third, and we're looking to make it blue. So we do the same thing, boom. So all three have been modified. So the next thing I want to do is also modify the colors for this. So if you click one of this, boom, notice in this case you have three tinting options. You have the minimum track, you have the maximum track, and you have the thumb tint. The thumb tint is literally like the same thumb tint you had here, which is the round knob that you can move back and forth. And then the main track is, you are either going to choose this area for the color, or at this end. So this is the minimum and this is the maximum. So we're going to choose the mean in this case. So we're also going to go for red, since that represents the red color, system red color. And then you see the red comes on, and then we go to the next, and then we do the minimum too. And then for the second, it's going to be green. So we click the green, and then we go for the third, and then we click the blue, system blue color. So, and that's it. And then let's run this right now so we can see where we are before we move on to further modifications. So we've run this. If I turn this, all of a sudden I have my red here, my green here, and then my blue here. You can also see as I scroll that my red is here, my green is here, and my blue is here. Now I can reset and come back here. So we've got this. So the next thing we want to do is to go ahead and add the borders. Like I mentioned the last time, you know, if I turned all of this on, you're going to see that this is going to, you know, you have the full color, the red, green, and the blue. All of a sudden the view area, right, or the color palette right here disappears. So what we want to do is put in some borders around it. Let me move some borders around this so that even when we have a white color, everybody still knows that there's some kind of viewing area right there. So the way we're going to do that is that we are actually going to use a code, you know, to develop that. So how you do that is let me minimize this. Minimize is that we go to let's go to, I'm looking for my override function, view did load. Okay, that will be our view did load, right? So because we can do overrides here, so I'm going to go ahead and try to do this. So we are going to try to modify the color view, but the color view has a certain property called layer, and then the layer, which is a property, also has its own property, right, which is border width. Border width, and this is border width. So the width of the border is what we are focused on right now. So, and I can say let's make that border width 5, and then we do another color view dot layer. That's another layer, and the property of the layer this time will be the corner radius. Notice that we actually want to, you know, create rounds right around the viewing area. So we make that the radius of those corners 20, and then we want to do another color view dot layer dot. Now our focus is what will be the color of the border we are creating. So we want to map that to use UI color, right, dot black. We choose black to be that UI color, and then CG color. So we're literally saying that border color should be black. So what else do we do? Let's run it and see what we have. Okay, so if I turned each of this on and I moved them completely full, now when it turns white I still have my borders. So that's one of the things we wanted to achieve. We've been able to achieve the customization of the controls so that we are able to tell which colors they are, and now we've created a border for this too. So the last issue we want to deal with is the whole issue of trying to make sure we disable or enable controls that are not in use. In this case, we want to be able to disable the controls that are not in use. We start from the premise that all controls have a particular property that is called dot is enabled. It allows the controls to be activated or deactivated, so that a change in the appearance of the the particular slider, all of a sudden it is an indication of the status of that particular control at that point in time. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to add a method after this, which is the view did code. We're going to add a new function here. So let me use this function. So watch, let me see whether you see. So this is what's going on here. I've been able to introduce this function beginning from this point to this point. So the function name is update controls. So all we've done here is red slider dot is enabled. So we're just saying that the red slider is enabled, right? And we want to map that to the red switch is on. So anytime the red slider is enabled, then that would mean that the red switch is also on, and vice versa. So that happens with the green slider and the blue slider. Blue slider is on, blue switch is on. So we've been able to create this. That's a first step. So the next thing we want to do is, in 3 different locations, we want to be able to call the update control. So which is this. So let me just copy it, and we're going to paste it in 3. Oops, sorry about that. I'm just copying the name, the function name. That's it. Command. No, it doesn't want me to copy it, so I'll probably just type it. Let me see. Command copy. So let's go. We're gonna drop this in a couple of places, and one of those will be the view did load, because what happens in view did loads is when we put the update controls there, is to make sure that the sliders are disabled correctly when the app first launches, because this is the function that runs once at the very point that the app first launches. So we want to make sure that which is this is disabled, that the sliders are disabled correctly when the app first launches. So all we need to do is update controls. Yeah, update controls. So we have that there. Where is the next place? We also want to call it when at any point when we reset the app, which is the reset, which is when you go down there and click the reset. Anytime that happens, I want to be able to also make sure I update controls. Yep. So I also want to call it at that point. And where else do we want to call it? We also want to call it whenever the slider is changed. We want to make sure we also call it. So let me see. No, probably when the switch is changed rather. So update controls is when the switch is changed, not when the slider is changed, because we are literally calling the slider. Our focus is on the slider, but what we want is when this is changed, this is affected. So I think that would be it. Do we need to call it anywhere else? I think that would be it. So let's run and see what we have. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, now I can turn it up, I can run it up, and I can run it up. So if I turn this off, then I'm unable to move the thumb anymore. The thumb of the slider, I can't move it anymore. again, if I reset, which is why, where's our reset? So I was saying, if I click reset, I want it to also update the controls, which is make sure you deactivate it. So it has done that, so I can't move anymore. And if I go back, then I can move it around, I can move it around, and then I can move it around. Yeah. So essentially, at the end of the day, we've been able to achieve a situation where the sliders can be used on you know, until the switches are on. So once you turn the switches on, then you can use the sliders, you know, and then when each switch is on, its color also matches that of the corresponding slider. So we see there is a color correspondence between our switch and our sliders. And then this particular, for the color view, we've also made it very distinct by including a border around it. So that would be the end of this app. If you have any questions, you're welcome to email me or to drop a question in the comment section. And thank you again for watching the videos. Appreciate, and I hope to see you sometime. All right, bye.